Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Carnival of Randomness on the Road, and we're in a treasure here. I consider this a local treasure in Rochester. I always call them little platoons of society, and there's these local shops that you really become a community and cater to people who want to look for something different and can find things and really learn a lot too. And it's amazing to have these around, be they be comic book stores, music stores, anything else that lasts throughout the years, because you see how businesses tank, and especially small businesses. But we have a true master with us, Tom Kohn, who's run the Bop Shop for how long? Hello, Tom.
37 years. How you doing?
Wow, you're not even that old though. How'd you do it?
I'm older than you. Look.
But can you just tell us a little background and everything?
I started collecting records when I was 12 and started working in record stores when I was 16, and that's 1972. So you can start doing the math for that.
I don't like
so. Worked in the record business early on. Started working for a record distributor in the 70s, Rounder Records, and also worked for MXR, the guitar effects pedal company. And pretty much went to every concert that I could possibly go to. And little turmoil in the late 70s, early 80s, and MXR was not doing well, so I bailed and ended up, after amassing tens of thousands of records from garage selling for a decade, I opened a flea market booth in the old Peddler's Village, which became Village Gate Square, and then that was there 30 years, and then after that I left there, landed over here in Brighton, 1460 Monroe Avenue.
I was going to say, I made sure to look at the address on the
and
outside
I've
on the
been
way
here
in.
how many times, but I just say, well, you go down Monroe. And
go down Monroe, it's a little past Grinnell's on the right.
This used to be White House Liquor's location years ago. The Brown Derby was in this strip along with Suwan's, like the first Chinese restaurant. So anyway, we landed here, and it turned out to be a really good thing, and amassed a couple 100,000 LPs. And, been in the business 37 years now. And
that seems the way to go, because we actually...
Oddly enough, it's still fun.
It seems the way to go, because we just did a thing about Empire Comics, because I used to go there all the time, and I found a very good article on it, because I never really know the origins, and for comics you have to have the origin story, that they started out really flea markets too, as well. That must have been the way to go.
Well, collectibles end up evolving that way.
Yeah, because I remember going
in
to
the
some
70s. That's kind of where the business was.
Westgate Plaza and stuff.
Yeah,
I remember the one
there.
there.
A lot of records there. Don't remember from whom, but
Plus, when you're a kid, you always think about how I never saw the fleas there.
I always wondered why they called it the flea market.
What'd you find? All right, beautiful. Thanks, dear.
We have stuff.
Yeah.
So we have some CDs too.
So shrink wrapping some stuff.
And I think we all come from that background, like the local club background and everything.
Well, you and I. Scourges.
Yeah. And I think the other thing too, it's for people. I learned a lot from this, like for jazz especially, because I would ask you.
That was my sort of focus on things. I started presenting alternative jazz concerts 30 years ago. I celebrated 30 years this year with probably 1,000 concerts in the last 30 years. Mostly new music, but not always. A lot of folk music, a lot of acoustic music.
How would you say, too, it's so tough in these businesses. How have you done it, really? Stayed around all this time?
Patience.
With some up and downs over the years,
yeah,
obviously.
There's some bad times. I mean, there's a lot, there's been many times I've just, But there's always a spark that keeps you going, and there's always someone that smiles, and, I don't know what else I'd do anyway either, but,
What do you think the appeal is of records still and vinyl and everything? Because
that's a convoluted question in some ways.
Well, I really don't know, but I like
sound is a big part of it. A good record on a good stereo, and quoting me, a good stereo, not the Crosley pieces of crap that they sell for $79.
Not sponsored by Crosley.
That's dumb. They belong in dumpsters. Period.
But no, I was going to say that because the one thing I think my dad always used to say was that you got a much richer, fuller sound.
And that is exactly what it is.
Out of vinyl.
I mean, not always.
Not always,
most
but
of the time.
For the most part, and it gives you, and I used to hear people talking about getting the actual record and opening it up and looking at the, the insert and the cover art.
That's part of it. The tactile.
You don't get that with the download.
Doing that. You don't. And after a while, you don't even know what you have. And, CDs have the same thing, too. There's still a physical product which you can love.
Right.
There's a bit of a trendiness to it, which is great. That has driven the traffic and brought new buyers to the vinyl world and brought back the old buyers. Or if not, I buy their record collections if I can. As well.
One of the things, I actually heard it from Neil Young, of all things, at some interview. That's where I really got more into vinyl, because he said, then I listened to it, true.
Yeah. I've got a pretty nice rig at home, and it sounds great.
That's the thing to stress, too, as well.
Priority, though, most important is the music.
Yeah.
If it's really great music, download I don't do so much.
I don't do either.
Few things, but only if I need something for a concert or show coming up. But if it's a CD only product and it's something I need or want,
and you do a heck of a lot for promoting local music all over the years, and I've gotten by horizons advanced in terms of music by your shows and everything.
A lot of what we do is actually a lot of the New York jazz scene comes up here quite often, and European for jazz. We're doing a local record release in a couple of weeks. April 6th is Kinlaw Nelson is releasing a record on Tompkins Square Records, which is actually recordings from 1968 through 70. It's brilliant stuff. Just freaking
one of the
brilliant,
ones that sticks out in my head from the old Atrium days, and this one I thought it was phenomenal, was Walter Werbos.
God, you went to that?
Yes.
From the Walter from ICP Orchestra.
And he literally played for 40 minutes, 45 minutes straight. You saw spittle coming out of the...
Remember, he took the horn apart.
Yeah.
And it all fell to the ground, and then he picked it back up.
Why are we still doing all those shows?
So, wow, I forgot you went to that.
Yeah, the Engines.
Walter Werbos, they were great. That's Dave Rumpus's band.
Yeah. But you're very eclectic, too. You had... Oh my goodness! Now see, this is live, and I'm blanking on the name.
That's fine.
Come on, always look on the bright side of life. The Monty Python guy, the guy.
Oh yeah.
See, now you're blanking.
Okay, great. Now you asked him.
He was in the Bonzo Dog Bag, which was one of my
Neil Innes, Ian McLaughlin from the False Masons,
the
Rolling Stones,
and that's a story I have to tell. Is you will, it's not only promoting this, coming to the store, helping local business, getting something cool, it becomes a little community, and there's stuff you'll never see. And I actually sort of struck up a mini friendship with Ian McLaughlin because of you.
Mac was a sweetheart.
And I remember coming in the store. You can go.
Him dearly.
Oh, I do too. And I mean, Greg Townsend told us the whole story of what happened.
Right.
But I remember I saw him play, and I talked to him for a long time, and he told me, his comment to me was, "What's your name?" I said, "Rob." He goes, "I had an agent named Rob. He ripped me off." They give you, I'll sign it anyways. But
well, that's what he did when he the first time he came to the store. We had all of us had our records. Max looking at this thing. There's a fucking bootleg. There's another fucking bootleg.
He did that to me too.
Yeah, right. They're all bootleg.
But he came in, and the part was too. You can go in your little stores, your box stores, get all the crap that's out there, get your American Idol records or whatever. But I come in here after a show. He's in here, and I do a double take, and he remembers. He's like, "Are you again?"
We had Joey Mullen in here last year.
He confirmed his story. He said Rod Stewart was totally wrong in his book, because he said Rod said that they were the first band to get kicked out of Holiday Inns, and they got around it by saying they were Fleetwood Mac. And Ian said, "No, Rod's got that wrong," and he explained sort of the chicanery he did with the end of it being. Seemed like the thing to do at the time, but he said they said they were family. Because,
did you read Mac's book?
Oh yes, I bought it.
It was fantastic.
Yes,
Reckless Eric's book is also really good.
Yes, I got that too. Yeah. That's another one. Reckless Eric and Amy Rigby. I discovered them because of you, and I've been to every.
Yeah, they're so good.
Yes.
So good. Barrett's Whitfield.
Oh, Barrett's Whitfield is the way to describe him, and I highly recommend. There's a show coming up at Abilene with them and promo for them. You have to see him, listen to his music.
May 5th.
There you go. But he is little Richard on speed, basically.
That's what that's
a little Richard.
The man is
Richard on steroids.
I'm not a dancer or any of this stuff at shows. I like to listen to music. I'm tired out from watching.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty fun, man. He's
incredible.
Great guy, and we put him up when they come through. There's a lot of music out there that really matters to me, and it doesn't have to be popular. It doesn't have to be anything. It has to be stuff that moves your soul.
Yeah.
And that's really where all of it comes from. And that's where it all comes for everybody, is what does something to you, what reaches inside you and pulls out something that sometimes you don't even know you have. Yeah. And that's the real joy of what music does.
And I always say sometimes, like, whatever mood you're in, it helps you through the moods or bad times. Whereas like the state of the industry now. What do you think of it? I just think,
It's pretty messed up, but it's okay. It's still, people are still doing their thing, and people will persevere.
yeah.
And there's still great stuff coming out all the time. And that's the thing about what I do, is I'm always looking ahead,
Yes.
looking forward.
Whenever
to
you
what-
see a
what
show
is
here,
interesting
they
going
advertise
on.
it's going to be something really cool and different. And you do these acts. You also do promote a lot of local acts too that are very well worth listening
Some of
to.
them, yeah. Between what I do and what Dan does too, which is nice.
Yeah.
We just had the music director for Sesame Street.
Yeah, I
play.
saw that.
Oh, you should. Oh, you can see all of the jazz shows the last 2 years on our YouTube now.
Yeah.
YouTube channel. So at least we're lucky enough to film those.
Yeah.
We have Barry Altschul here. He was a legend in jazz. He played with Chick Corea in the '60s, and Dave Liebman was here in the fall. He played with Elvin Jones and Miles Davis for a bunch of years.
Yeah.
So we get some pretty interesting people.
Yeah.
Playing interesting new music. It's not, it's all forward-thinking stuff, primarily,
No, give it a listen though. Go to the channel, listen to it. It's
Yeah.
all very well.
Don't worry, I'll put links below.
But one of the big,
There will be things to click.
but one of the big things we're doing this too is also assist promoting Record Store Day. And how did this come about, really? Because there was a free comic book day years ago.
Right, yeah, that's still going on, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andy, or not Andy, but...
I think it's May the 4th.
yeah, I can check with Mike. Pulp Nouveau Comics down in Canandaigua. Yeah, Mike's a real good friend of mine, so... good guy. Anyway, it was a... How did it really start? I'm trying to remember.
I don't remember myself.
I came in probably the second year in. It was part of an organization that sort of started it, and it kind of blossomed into this
Thing.
beast, is what I call it.
Because now they added a second one.
Well, they added the Thanksgiving Black Friday one about 5 years ago,
Yeah.
6 years ago. And it's a little overwhelming, and it's very taxing on the stores.
And
It's
then-
also turned out to be a real good thing for the stores.
But the one thing I've noticed especially is sometimes record labels kind of maybe put the screws to the consumer a little bit for the
You
Record
think?
Store Day thing.
No.
You
Like
think?
even more so than normal. It's like, well, this isn't. It's like, oh, it's a reissue. Nobody cares.
Once the majors got in, it got a little confusing. But they are, there's some pretty cool stuff this time coming up. I'm real excited about the list. I wish they wouldn't put so many out.
That's the thing. Like
it's over 400 things.
I look at the list and it's like several pages.
I
It's
really
like,
wish
I can't
they'd-
even go through it all.
I really wish they'd kind of rein it in a little bit. It's a real financial burden for the stores and the customers too, because it's, they all of a sudden there's like $800 worth of stuff they
Yes.
want to buy,
And I
it's
will
only
attest-
like
I will
15
attest to
records.
that.
It's
Go in with a budget and 2 records later you've blown your budget.
and there's this round has got some pretty astounding stuff. There's probably a dozen things I want, and I try to be real conservative. Probably Wes Montgomery is probably one of the things I'm excited about. There's also an Allman Brothers record from 1970.
Oh.
A Fillmore show, but that's not the famous Fillmore one. It's an alternate one.
Wow, that's amazing. It's
Pretty
amazing.
excited
what
about
they
that.
find out.
There's an alternate Blood on the Tracks. Dylan's,
I've been on a huge kick because I just saw him play here last year, so I've been really
that's going to be
revisiting
pretty
everything.
exciting. And of course, I can't remember. There's a Joan Shelley that I'm really excited about. It's a singer that I really like a lot.
One thing I'll go into, and I know a little bit more about this from the comic book perspective, but I think it's also the same, is about the idea of collecting in itself. And I tell people, do it for the fun and what you enjoy. Don't think you're going to retire and be a millionaire.
Never do that.
I've actually gotten people
Never,
swearing
ever,
at me
ever
because
do
I
that.
remember somebody was on my street, and I do know a little about records, and he's showing me all these things, like I think it was a Papa John Creech album or something.
I have about 8 of them over
Yeah,
here.
and he's going, oh, this is worth so much, and I just told him he doesn't know what he's... I tried to be nice, but just do it because you enjoy it. I saw this in
and that's
college.
Always buy what you're going to like and listen to. Don't
Yeah.
buy it for investment.
And that's the thing,
never.
like you forget, people say, oh, I've got all these old Led Zeppelin records, they've got to be worth something. Well, no, because you forget back in the day when a band sold 1 million records,
Well,
they literally sold 1 million records.
Thriller's a better example
Yeah,
of that.
but nowadays when somebody puts out vinyl, it could only be like 500.
There are a lot of that going on.
Yeah, so you have the real limited edition ones, and those, regardless of the music, are the ones that could turn valuable.
Many do, many don't.
Yeah. But
now, there is one Led Zeppelin record, though, that is worth a lot of money.
Well, right, I'm not...
The first press of Led Zeppelin 2, mastered by a guy named Robert Ludwig.
Oh.
That is, a mint copy of that is $200, $300, $400. Good luck finding one.
Yeah, the other one I think of, I remember
I have several, but...
There were some posters from Scandinavia.
Not mint ones.
Some posters when they were the new Yardbirds.
Mm-hmm.
And I wonder some of those, because I see like some of those. But that's what you have to do because you enjoy it. And
the paper thing is something I don't get into too much, because it's hard. It's tough to find the really good stuff anyway.
Yeah.
They made a lot of Fillmore posters, the ephemera end of things is fun, and I pick the stuff up, but it's not my forte.
No, but in terms of...
But I do buy it,
A record store day, what are we going to expect? Like, you always have bands in and all?
No, we're doing DJs. I kind of bagged the band thing. It's a little too complicated.
Yeah, well, I was
going to say, logistically...
We should talk about the date. It is April 13th.
Oh, yes, that's the big thing there.
Yes, April 13th.
9 a.m. We open the doors. We have coffee offered by my favorite roaster in town, Fuego Coffee. And during the day, there's also a beer tasting by Three Heads. And one of the disc jockeys that day will be Jeff from Three Heads. He'll be DJing.
I know Jeff.
Matt will be DJing. Matt Granieri, MDG, will be DJing. Pauline Coles will be DJing this time. We had Gary Lewis of Gary Lewis and the Playboys in the fall, which was
that's the thing, because he
Guess what he played? He played Rush and AC/DC. It was a riot. And Beatles, of course.
Because he lives in Honey I Falls.
Yeah, Mendon, but somewhere out there.
He used to live in Henrietta, but then he moved. Last I heard, he moved.
His wife's from here, so he's
to
been
Honey
here
I
for
Falls,
20
and he's
some odd
been here
years.
for a long time.
He was an absolute gem of a man.
That's what I've heard.
So nice.
And the thing is, you could walk. I don't know what he looks like.
I wouldn't have recognized him.
I could have walked by him.
Yeah,
dozens of times and not even known who he was.
So it's kind of fun. It's a place to come and hang out all day.
Yeah.
There's always food. People bring shit. And, hang around. There's always, the store is packed to the gills.
Oh yeah, I was here on Record Store Day a few years ago.
In the fall it was so freaking cold. And there were like 60, 80 people outside, and I let everybody in early just to stay warm, I kind of kept them roped off. And then I passed out candied bacon. So I was passing out bacon that I had candied. So,
that's worth coming right there.
So now I got people asking, "Are going to be bacon?"
Yeah.
All right,
I'll buy a record if you give me bacon.
Yeah,
You'll buy a record.
I'm making candied bacon to give out at first thing in the morning. Do coffee and donuts. Everyone needs coffee in the morning.
So there you go. Go Black Friday style, April the 13th. Get there 4 a.m. Sit in the parking lot and wait for candied bacon and records.
I'm about 4, but...
No.
Actually...
No, they'll be lined up.
There isn't a Fish record. If there was a Fish record...
Oh, God.
Then there would be people at 4 o'clock. There's a couple of good Grateful Dead pieces. No Fish stuff this time, which is good.
Yeah. I'm not.
Because there's so many of them. There's like... we got like over 100 of the last one, and we sold them all.
Is there like some white whale of like things that are coming out this year that's like really people are just unfortunately going to
the mono Saucerful of Secrets with Pink Floyd.
Oh.
Yeah. That's going to be huge. I'd have to look at the list again, because you have to put the orders in.
Yeah, that's probably one of those you'll get 4. Maybe.
I hope I get 30. I ordered 100 of the damn things.
That's the thing. You order 100, pray for 30, and end up with 10.
Yeah, no, I'll get more of that.
In some ways, like I know Zach does it too as well. He goes, gets some of the pictures. He gets them. Why does he get them? Because he thinks they're neat.
Yeah, I'm not doing it for resale. I may not even like the music. I just think some of them are cool looking.
The packaging is pretty amazing. They just announced one today, Modest Mouse, which I don't really care about a whole lot.
Neither do I.
Okay, but it's a triangle shaped. It's a record in a triangle shaped packaging.
I've got a glow in the dark triangle. I don't even know who it's from, but it's a glow in the dark triangle. It was a couple years ago.
Yeah, what was that?
Oh Christ, I don't even remember. Paramore did one. It was like a broken record. Like half of the record was. Yeah,
there's a bunch of cool. There's a bunch of cool stuff like that this year.
Actually,
a lot of picture
the coolest one I ever saw. It was a Star Wars record, but it was holographic.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Did you ever see that? So if you play it and shine a light on it, a 3D hologram of the Millennium Falcon or a TIE fighter pop up right over the needle or right over the spindle where it's playing. It's
there
like,
weren't many. Those sold quickly.
Well, I saw a
it's like,
disturbing
those are
one
cool as
actually.
hell.
When Amy Rigby played here, I was sitting over there and I look over and you had a picture disc of one of those critters from the Last Jedi film.
Oh yeah.
I just found that
Oh,
disturbing
yeah.
myself.
Was any of those? Those all went.
Yeah, I'm not shocked.
But I saw it though. When I
There's
was,
a lot of stuff is numbered. Then they'll come out with a regular release later. So a lot of the stuff will get re-released again in black vinyl.
Yeah.
and I would say, if you were going to get into just for fun and everything, talk to you a little. You could get you could send them in the right direction.
Yeah, I'll get snarky about things. Sure,
Yeah.
But another thing I'm
And
into.
I'll tell you what I like and don't like.
Well, I like
What,
that though. I really like that. I don't like
But
people.
buy what your heart tells you to buy.
Yeah,
but
That's what you got to do.
I got another guilty pleasure in addition to picture discs and shape discs is soundtracks.
Oh God.
I
boy.
love soundtracks.
Boy, there's a ton. This time.
I came here not a while ago and I got like 6 or 7 James Bond soundtracks.
Yeah, I buy all I can. In fact, that's all soundtracks right here.
Yeah, I love them. I got the soundtrack.
Did you get the In Like Flints yet?
No, I didn't.
You have to get those.
Yeah.
You have to get the 2 In Like Flints because they're James Bond spoofs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
James
yeah,
Coburn.
yeah.
James Coburn.
It was Coburn, wasn't it?
They're fabulous soundtracks.
Are they?
Too. Anything by Morricone,
Right.
pretty much. And Andromeda Strain's a great one. They reissued that in a limited edition. I didn't keep one for myself. It's a really good electronic music.
Yeah.
The original's worth a fortune.
Well, right.
It's this weird shaped thing. It's crazy packaging.
And I feel a lot of these soundtracks really missed the boat. Like I got a year or so ago, the Candyman soundtrack came out. And I'm like, oh, please let it be clear with pictures of bees. No, it was just black vinyl. It's like, see, that was a missed opportunity.
Which one was that? The one with the the '60s film, Candy?
The
Tony
80s
Todd
one, Tony
one.
Todd.
Oh, no,
Yeah, the Candyman.
I don't know
coming.
anything about movies.
Yeah,
I
but
can name-
but
I
the
can
best
tell
thing
you,
was
though.
he would always, his presence would be foretold by a swarm of bees. I was like, this is the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
And
I'm one of the
and they botched it.
weirdos on the planet that doesn't own a television.
I could tell. I know a
Not
couple
missing-
people
it's
like
probably
that.
helping your-
But I
your
can tell you, the
longevity.
first picture disc I got was by a fluke. We used to go to Gold Circle. This was back in the 70s. And what did I get? Because I was a huge Beatles fan. Okay, my older brother. But I used to go to Gold Circle and I'd go look at the records and everything. The first picture disc I ever got, I didn't even know I got it, was I was always a huge Beatles fan. And I got the Beatles 67 through 71, the blue disc.
Right.
That was the first one I ever got.
They did Pepper as a picture disc.
Yeah.
They made a lot of them.
Yeah.
Some of the picture discs in the '70s were limited and some weren't. It's a little hard to figure it out.
Yeah.
Back then, the fidelity was pretty poor
God.
on those.
And picture,
How are the newer ones?
They're okay.
I
They're
didn't
not.
play any of them. So.
No, I played a couple. They're not great, but they're listenable. They're not like listening through a tin can, but you can definitely tell that it's not standard
the plastic is
black.
Yeah. So some of the colored vinyl stuff's okay.
Yeah, but although the one I like, it was Ron Jeremy released an album.
Oh God, it was a single though, wasn't it?
No, it was. I think it was.
Was it a 45-inch?
Well, no, it was a 10-inch.
Big
And
10-inch.
I said they
That's a
should.
Bull Moose Jackson song.
I said
Big
they-
10-inch
I
record.
s-
That Aerosmith covered.
I said they should have done 9 3/4 inches, but no, he is actually, as weird as it sounds, a very good pianist. So it was called Ron Jeremy Explains Classical Music. So he would talk about a song and then play it, and he's really talented. And it was
There
just.
was a 7-inch though. There was a single too that he did.
Well, there was a rainy day that happened to shrunk.
Oh no! Wait, no. It was the yellow record. Yeah, it was
I don't
a yellow
remember.
clear record. It was a 7-inch.
what I-
I
Yeah.
said it should have been a 9 3/4,
Right.
which would have been funnier.
I mean, the other aspect of this in its own way, aware of it or not, it's almost like a museum. It's like a piece of history, too, with all the vinyl, everything
and-
else.
and it's
Where
like
you could come in and
you
start
get some-
talking about this stuff and everything.
and you see something that's
to
going
a
to
certain
spark a
extent, but
memory.
it's not a museum.
Yeah,
though.
obviously, I know
we do sell stuff. I mean,
It's almost-
the last comment someone came down to the basement was, "This is where all the Raiders of the Lost Ark stuff went."
Top
There's that much
men.
shit down here.
But the one thing I was going to ask, too, because I am a fan of all kinds of music, just about except for the popular stuff, probably. But I know you carry a lot of classical.
Yeah, quite a bit. Yeah.
And I really like, how's that go here and everything? You have
It's a genre that doesn't sell great, but we have repertoire of every kind. I listen to a lot of 20th century classical. You know, your Steve Reich and bands like Eighth Blackbird, Brooklyn Rider, Bang on a Can. People that are writing genuinely new music. What was going on that influenced by Terry Riley, Steve Reich, Philip Glass, and Edgar Varese and that type of stuff. So I listen to quite a bit of contemporary classical music.
Yeah.
Similar is the jazz. My favorite jazz record right now is by a pianist named Shai Maestro. Yeah. A gorgeous record on ECM.
One of the ones I always liked was Hugo Wolf.
Right.
I liked him a lot.
And this falls into the 20th century stuff a little bit, like Bartok and Stravinsky and Schoenberg and things like that. It's much of what. So we have a very comprehensive classical department, about 30,000 titles.
Yes.
Wow.
Which means you've got a really good. It's not a lucrative genre, but it gets paid attention to and it sells. Not great, but it sells. Jazz comes in second with country, but we have 30,000 jazz records in stock.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you didn't have them, people would complain.
Mm-hmm. Well, they wouldn't know any better.
Why don't you have this? Were you going to buy it? Well, that's not the point.
Yeah, right.
Oh, jeez.
No, it's just about having comprehensive, selection of titles and stuff like that.
Because you never know what mood is going to strike you when you come in and show.
Working for Rounder in the 70s taught me a lot about every genre.
Yeah.
I can have a conversation about Hawaiian slack key guitar if you want.
I think that's part of the key, because for me, if I didn't have a brother in a local band and everything, I know how I know my taste was loved in my grade school and high school when they'd be going on about something coming, and I'd mention.
Which school? I forgot.
I went to Moni, so it's okay to say because it's gone.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
and the thing about it was I would try to turn people on. Like one of my bands was Gun Club, and I would just try to make it for people, and they go, "This sounds like shit," and then they got the aerial speedwagon things and stuff, and so I was sort of out there with.
Yeah, when I was buying Clash and Patti Smith and Elvis Costello, everyone thought it was junk, and then guess what?
Well, now it's fashionable though.
It got really popular quickly.
But my guilty pleasure of last year was William Shatner's Silent Night with Iggy Pop, because Iggy Pop was on it. No, I know.
That record, that was funny, but the record was not as good as the one before that.
The country one?
No, when he did Space Cowboy.
Oh, yeah.
With Steve Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then that,
I think it was channeling Major Tom or something.
Something like that. That was a better record. The Christmas record really fell short of being funny.
I think a lot of people came from that because somebody in the family was either a musician or had these albums, and that's how they got into it. Because otherwise you fall into that trap of that's all you got is the popular stuff. You don't realize there's so much more.
Well, much of it has to do with you got to have you have to be curious. In the 60s, people were really curious. Look at the Fillmore posters. Yeah. It's the Who and Ravi Shankar and the Chambers Brothers, or Rush on Roland Kirk and stuff like that. People were much, much more curious, and they are to a certain extent, and it kind of goes up and down. People are curious again.
Yeah.
They're open to new ideas. A lot of it's done, on iPods and stuff, and file sharing and things like that.
I still have that about
what
music.
I hope is that they'll go out and actually buy the artist's product.
Yeah, that's the thing I try to do. I try to tell people.
People don't make any. The artists do not make any money.
Yeah.
On streaming services and those kind of things.
And I still get music's meant a lot to me in my life. And one of my things was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I finally got to the Beacon Theater to see Jason Isbell. To me, it was like a shrine.
Yeah, I've never been to the Beacon.
I mean, it was. Yeah. It's one of those places, and then it was just one of those things. It was cool.
People play there. Amy Helm was just there, and I couldn't get down there. So,
no, well, you know how it is in New York too.
Did you come to see Amy Helm when you were here? Yeah. That's Saturday. What a great Saturday afternoon. Wow, it was awesome.
Oh yeah, they're all these. Awesome. I mean, you have like the jazz bands are incredible too. I remember that one band did Purple Haze as jazz.
Was that the same?
That was years ago. That was years ago. I date myself there too.
It wasn't Villain Breaker.
It was like 5 years ago. See, I remember that.
Here
stuff.
Was it show here?
It was here.
Well, that was the two oud players.
Yeah, because it was just after that show you had with the one.
That was the oud players.
Yeah,
they were shredding Hendrix on two Arabic ouds. It was bizarre as hell. But it was really loud and crunchy.
That's what I mean. If you're
go on the thing and look at the Sandcatchers show. It's pretty amazing because they had an oud player. This is like 2 years ago, and a lap steel player, and a very jazzy Pink Floydy kind of stuff that was going swirling. It was great.
But I mean, this is a fascinating, and I do believe curiosity, and whenever you open yourself to new things in this, you're going to expand everything in your life, really. And I'm
That's the thing,
serious about
because
that.
that artist that you really like, find out who they were influenced by, and then listen to them and see why.
Right.
Or ask somebody who knows here about, okay, I'm interested in this, and this is what I used to do here while I'm digging this for jazz, and one of the ones you got me before was the Die Like a Dog Quartet.
Yeah.
And,
Broadsman, right?
Yeah.
That was Broadsman.
yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was incredible.
Yeah, prolific guy. Him and Vandermark are so prolific.
That's the way to do it. Don't be afraid of different things.
No.
Try them. You might like them.
That's the thing.
Well, I try to encourage people to for my jazz shows, read about them and go on YouTube and listen to them.
That's the thing you can do now.
Everybody has a YouTube.
Yep.
We have a YouTube. You have a YouTube.
Yeah.
So
That's what I honestly
I
do.
try to avoid being in the YouTubes.
Yeah.
If I can help it.
But I find, like, if you do something, because a lot of times if I go into a show cold, it might not be as much. I'll try to do a little background research so I know what the stuff's a little about.
Yeah, and it doesn't take much. I mean, there's with the internet is giving everyone ability to learn about something in about 30 seconds.
Oh yeah.
But yeah.
And that's that's kind of all you ask. It's just
Just a little overview.
come and taste it. I always, if someone comes to something and don't like it, in the first 10 minutes, you give them your money back.
Yeah. Well, I've had ones where
There's been a few that have been tough.
But haven't you ever done the album thing where you play something, you're just not in the mood, you go, this is horrible. You leave it away for a while, then you come back and you really like it.
Yeah, it happens a lot. You revisit things in different times of your life, stuff like that. So,
Yeah. But
anyway.
I could go on about collecting music, everything else, but been very fun. Thanks for having us down here. We want to, everybody's got to come to Record Store Day.
Yeah, so let's go over it again. April the 13th.
We open at 9 a.m.
Open at 9 a.m. Bop Shop, the Bop Shop, 1460 Monroe
Bop Shop
Ave.
Records.
Bop Shop Records.
And how do we find you all over on, pages,
interweb and
line,
whatnot. Facebook.
all
Yeah,
the
just
modern crap?
bopshop.com has everything on there.
Yeah.
There you go.
I do want to say that the Record Store Day is shared by all the record stores in
yes.
town. And we all get different stuff. So it's very important.
And I did experience that between here and
all the other places.
and several other places. There was stuff that was common and related, but other stuff
and
that
allocations
was
are different and stuff like that, and we call each other around.
Yeah, so
and
don't be
who knows
afraid,
what,
to visit a couple different shops. But start off at the Bop Shop. Get yourself some coffee and candy.
Not only that, but then you could start get some records here, be entertained, talk to Tom, have free food, then go around. You can have
Come
your whole
back,
lunch and dinner.
Yeah, every
all
place
over.
has stuff going on. I think it's really kind of fun.
I think
A lot of other places have.
and I think another place
they
have
have
like
hot dogs,
a food
weenies,
truck in
whatever.
the parking lot.
Yeah.
Not all of
Yeah.
you became a vegetarian like me, so you can eat this stuff.
Call me.
I know, it's horrible. I would have been going, why? I want that bacon now.
Okay, then I can wave in the
The
front
most
of you.
bacon I had was Igor and the
you
Red
can't.
Elvises. They had Abilene bacon, the song. That's the most I can have.
Oh, the Red Elvises.
Oh, they're fun.
Yeah, they're right.
They're
Yeah,
lots of fun.
that's a closing thought. If you have never listened to them, listen to them. It's entertainment.
And everything, but thanks
Yeah,
a lot.
parents would be abashed. Okay.
And
All right,
it's
all right,
fun.
man.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
All right.